It is 6:01, and the meeting is called to order. We will now convene in closed session as authorized by the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code Section 551074, 551071, and 072. And is there another one? And 082. Thank you.
And point of order, Ms. Gregg, a quorum is present.
A quorum is established. Thank you, Mr. Parliamentarian. It's true, sure has.
Hey, Bill, can you do me a favor?
Test.
Thank you for coming. The time is 7 o'clock, 7:01, 7:02, excuse me, and we will now reconvene into open session. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The chair entertains a motion for personnel recommendations that we discussed in closed session. Do I hear a
So
motion?
moved. So moved to approve.
It's been moved by Mr. Ferguson, seconded by Mrs. Fouty. Any discussion? Not all in favor? It is unanimous. Okay. Oh, it would be on, okay. I entertain a motion for the principal of BB Owen.
Madam President, I move that Jennifer M. Spitzer be appointed as principal of BB Owen Elementary School.
Second, okay. Second by, it's been seconded by Ms. Latham. Any discussion? All in favor? It is unanimous, and now we will welcome Ms. Jennifer Spitzer, will be appointed as principal of BB Owen Elementary School. Is Ms. okay? Would you? Welcome. Do you have a family here that you would like to introduce? Well, thank you very much, and congratulations. And I understand from reading in the information that you have your master's from UTEP. Yay, minors. Okay.
And then, no, Ms. I'm going to recognize every Aggie that comes up then.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
could you give us about 30 seconds to have the people who were here for BBO, and most of them are teachers, and they would love to get back and get ready for tomorrow? So if y'all want to exit out the back, feel free to. We'd love to have you stay.
But before you go, are there any committee members here that were on that selection committee? I wanted to acknowledge them. They worked really hard and did a great job.
Hey. Thank you very much. We are down to the open forum. Persons desiring to address the Board of Trustees must fill out a speaker's card prior to the meeting, and no presentation shall exceed 3 minutes. The board cannot deliberate on any subject that is not included on the agenda. I have a stack of cards, and the first one is, I apologize if I mispronounce your name. I believe it's Mir, and I think it's A-L-I, Ali.
Okay. This is my first time, so I'm not sure how this works. So, Dr. Waddell, members of the board, I'm representing the Meridian community. We had a choice between the Colony High School and the Hebron High School. Apparently, that choice doesn't exist anymore for us. So I wanted to talk about that for a couple of minutes. I'm not the best public speaker. I'm much better at home. I'm an even better bathroom singer. So I have some printouts. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to hand them to you. It's what I'm going to say is on these. I'd love to give them to you. Thank you. Okay. Essentially, let me give you a little bit of background. I wasn't born in this country. I came here. I learned a lot of things. Still learning a lot of things about this country. One of the things that I find amazing is in this country we are willing to pay millions of dollars to ball players, but our educators, we want them to work for nothing, free preferably. And that has to change someday. It will change someday. But what I think you guys do is extremely important, so a big thank you from all of us at the Meridian community. It's not appreciated enough. But at the same time, with that big thank you, there's a big responsibility for you. Every child's life, every decision you make has a direct impact on our kids. And of course, kids grow up to be adults, and our future is at stake. What I found is, when we moved into the Meridian community, we were told we had a choice. Our schools are very closely integrated. The music programs are together, our sports programs are together. Even the online newsletter that comes in is for Killian and for Hebron High. Most of our kids, especially my daughter, they have friends in Hebron. We had the choice already. Our kids have developed a very close relationship with Hebron. All I'm asking for is to let us continue to have that choice. We're not asking for anything new. We just want to be able to execute that choice going forward. On the newsletter that you'll see, our biggest concern is the emotional and social impact on our kids. They've been working with the same music programs, they're working with the same social programs, the sports programs. They go to Hebron High for their band presentations, they go to Hebron High for their games. So we just want to make sure they continue to have that choice and doesn't impact them. The handout that I gave you has a little bit more details on what we think emotionally and socially this could impact our children. So I would love for you to consider that, and please give us the choice going forward. Thank you.
Next, C. Becker.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. From the day that our kids enter elementary school, certain schools get promoted as the middle school and as the high school. In the case of Meridian, it was always you're going to Killian, and from Killian, Hebron High School was promoted. We had a provision previously, like the previous gentleman said, that our kids had the choice, or our parents had the choice, to send our kids either to the Colony High School or to Hebron High School. Currently, we don't have that choice anymore. Our kids grew up believing that they're going to Hebron. They have a kinship with Hebron. All of that will be taken away from them, and they will have to start making new friends in a different school that they have no rapport with. We plead with you that you will please consider our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders to continue on into Hebron and let them finish out there. And we ask of you that if this is continuing and that we are zoned for the colony, that you will promote both high schools at Killian Middle School and not just one high school. Thank you.
Thank you. Karan?
Good evening, and thank you, Board of Members, to allow us to have an open session about it. I am from the Castle Hills North community, and I am here to discuss about the rezoning of unpopulated areas south of Highway 121. We as a community, we have all the people, all our brothers and sisters from our community that are here, and we all have bought our houses in the Castle Hills community because it was always zoned for our kids to go into the Hebron High School. And we as a community have all activities, like all the kid activities are together, all the kids go to the same school. So it would be really hard on the kids to go out of, after they have the same set of friends in the elementary and the middle school, to go to a different school. And as Hebron has always been has always been zoned for Castle Hills North, we would request, as a community, we want to keep all the kids of the Castle Hills community together because they are actively involved as a group from day one, because Castle Hills community as a community itself, we have a lot of kid activities, and I guess a lot of us have kids going to the activities, and we all roll up into the same elementary school and then to the middle school. So we want to keep our kids together going forward. We would request to keep all the kids together of the Castle Hills community together so that they can go to the same high school. And a lot of us here have made a lot of sacrifices on our end to make sure that our kids receive good education. And when we were looking for houses, we have done research to find out which schools and all that stuff. And Castle Hills North was always zoned for going into the Hebron High School, and we hope that going in future it continues to be the same, because we have put in a lot of time, effort, and money to make sure that we come into the Castle Hills neighborhood, and we all as a all as a community go to the same high school. And so this is what we are here for, and these are all my brothers and sisters from my community that are here that represent the same feeling. And thank you very much for your time, and we would really wish that you reconsider the rezoning and take in consideration the points that we just mentioned. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Next is William Adams.
Good evening, Mr. Superintendent, Board of Members. My name is William Adams. I live at 2504 Scotty Street. I am here on behalf of my family and my community to voice opposition to the proposed rezoning of the unpopulated areas south of Highway 121, north of 544. My wife and I have two children who have been in LISD school since kindergarten. We have a daughter who is now a sophomore at Hebron High School and a son who is in the 4th grade. My wife and I are both members of the PTA and have been for all of our children's education. Both of our children have thrived in the LISD schools, both in academics as well as athletics. They have both established lifelong friendships with the children they have attended school with since the beginning of their educations. Both are well-adjusted, happy, and both have excellent grades as a result. We recently moved from Carrollton to Castle Hills, located in the area north of 544. To do so required some sacrifices, both personal and financial. However, we elected to move into Castle Hills versus other North Texas communities because we wanted to allow our children to live in the same area as their friends and schoolmates, and we wanted them to continue to have access to LASD schools, and specifically Hebron High School. When we purchased our home in October of last year, we were informed that the Castle Hills North community was and would continue to be zoned for Hebron High School. Had this not been the case, we would have strongly reconsidered our position. My family and I strongly urge you to leave the Castle Hills community zoned as it currently is and allow our children to feed into Hebron High School. We urge you to dismiss the proposed rezoning and allow our children the opportunity to continue their education with their friends and neighbors throughout the community. Thank you for your consideration.
Kevin Boyd.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent, Board. My name's Kevin Boyd, and I'm a homeowner also in Castle Hills North. I'm here to express my family's opposition to the current proposed rezoning of Castle Hills community. Not only myself, but I know there's a great deal of the community, 250 250 homes have signed a petition also with the same feelings as far as the rezoning of Castle Hills. Personally, my family and I lived in Corinth since 2000. We saved, we sacrificed in one day to move into the Castle Hills community specifically. And there are several reasons we wanted to go to Castle Hills, because of the family atmosphere, because of the importance the community as Castle Hills puts on their children's not only balance but education. Since Hebron has been in existence, Castle Hills has been zoned to go to Hebron. That was the main reason that we did choose Castle Hills. So our children who were 4, 7, and 9 could feed up to Hebron. I have kind of a unique, I guess, situation in that my wife also is a faculty in the district. So it's not something that we take lightly. We've had pride with Hebron High School since 2000. When we lived in Corinth, every Friday football game, basketball game, student council meeting we've been a part of. We've made several friends, which we call family in Hebron, which we now have family members in Castle Hills. Being that the proposed verbiage that was set forth by the board, it's unpopulated areas. Castle Hills North believes it's populated. That's what 250 homeowners that were home when we went door to door. These people bought houses in the area. We all come from different backgrounds. We're a very diverse group, but we are united in opposing this rezoning that would segregate Castle Hills once more.
The next one is Vimalanath. Thank you.
Respected and honorable board members of Lewisville Independent School District and Madam President and Superintendent. Today I am here to raise my concern on item H, discussion item, point 1, rezoning the unpopulated areas south of Highway 121. I want to make following points regarding my concern on rezoning. We purchased our homes only because our kids will go to Hebron High School like every other kids in Castle Hills. We don't want LISD to shatter our dreams and alienate our kids from the rest of the kids in the Castle Hills. It was not an easy choice when we planned to buy our home in Castle Hills. It is a once-in-a-lifetime choice for me. With this announcement that we will be separated from Castle Hills in spite of being in Castle Hills, we feel now that we are choiceless in process of pursuing our American dream. I know United States is all about being choice of choiceless. I still strongly believe in that. I request board not to separate our kids from the rest of the Castle Hills. Like many other members from my community, I'm one of here to raise my concern, and then I'm thanking the board to letting me to speak. Thank you.
Matt Lamp. Matt, okay.
Superintendent, Board, thank you very much for letting us have this evening. My concerns, I am a member of the Meridian community, and it's funny because I've listened to Castle Hills talk about a couple of things that really do fall within the concerns of my family and those in my community that I represent. It's not so much my concern that Hebron is the high school that my children are allowed to attend. My concern is that my children are tracked with their classmates all the way through from elementary into their high school. If that high school, so be it, be the colony for us, we are really willing to take that and embrace that. But I completely understand where these members of Meridian come from with their 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, asking you to allow them to make that choice. It doesn't affect me. My child's not there. What affects me is my child being allowed to stay with her schoolmates, her classmates, from elementary to junior high to high school and graduate with those children. I think that's the concern I'm hearing from Castle Hills. So I completely embrace what they have to say about this, but I'm on the other side of it. The colony's a perfectly fine school for us. We just want to be tracked there all the way through. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. John Douglas.
Hello, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. My name is John Douglas. I'm a resident of Castle Hills, and I also would like to echo my neighbor's comments in opposition to the rezoning of the area south of 121. We moved to Dallas 2 years ago, and when we looked for a house, we did a lot of research about where we would live, and education of our 2 beautiful daughters was a key concern for us. And so when we looked, we did a lot of research about which school districts to buy a house in and which areas to live in. And we specifically selected Castle Hills for the Lewisville School District and also the feeder pattern into Hebron High School. We also selected Castle Hills because of its focus on education and its separate education fund. And we asked the board respectfully to leave the zoning as it was promised when we purchased our house. Thank you.
Abby Matthew.
Dr. Waddell and Madam President, thank you for this time to address you guys on the board. I'm representing Meridian here, and I'm the secretary of the Meridian HOA. And we had this option the last 3 to 4 years where our children, there was just a handful of children, maybe like 8 to 10 high school students would be able to go into Hebron High. And some of them chose to go to Hebron High, some of them went to Colony, and so on. What happened is along the way, the children in the middle school developed relationships with their peers and their friends and their teachers, and I've had nephews and nieces who go to Hebron for their band practice and for football. And I've been taking them. I've taken them, brought them back, and I know the kind of relationship they've been developing over the last 3 years. And without us knowing, without anybody knowing, the last couple of weeks ago, that's when we got to know about this rezoning. The only thing we are asking as Meridian is the fact that our children still get the choice. And we are talking about there's 390 homes in Meridian. And there's easily 350 people who have signed on for this, 350 homes. What we are saying is we just need the choice, because we have every year a maximum of 15 students going into high school. And you guys are talking about 2020 Hebron getting overcrowded. 15 students every year for the next 3 to 5 years is not going to make a huge difference. And I think that should be considered not just for Meridian, but for Castle Hills too, because they've also paid a price for this. It's not right that you guys decide that you're going to rezone and separate these kids from Killian just for the reason that it's going to get overcrowded in 2020, you know? So I just want to express my support to everybody sitting here for the same reason, that this rezoning is unfair, and I think it needs to be reconsidered by the board respectfully. Thank you.
Leon Friedrich.
Thank you for the opportunity to allow me to speak. I'd like to thank my neighbors in Meridian and Castle Hills North for so eloquently expressing their opinions on how I feel. I'm a new resident to the city of Lewisville and to Castle Hills North, and the reason that my family and I made one of the largest purchases of our lifetime was the ability to go to Lewisville ISD schools and to track to Hebron High School. Second reason, because of the Castle Hills neighborhood, its effect on the community, children, and the Education Foundation, where we as residents of Castle Hill pay a transaction fee when we purchase and move into Castle Hills to contribute money that will go to the schools that our children will be going to. It's not something that we looked on lightly when we did it. We had the opportunity to move to many different areas within the metro region. We chose Castle Hills because of its location and because how we felt that our daughter would be able to grow and become a young woman and then in turn an adult in this community. I strongly oppose the redistricting or rezoning of the area south of 121 and fully agree with my neighbors. Thank you.
John Peter Becker.
Good evening. I'm a 7th grader who's going to Killian Middle School at the moment. I'm a member of the National Junior Honor Society. I'm in the school symphonic band, a Boy Scout, and I'm active in my local church and community. In 2008, me and my family moved from Texas to Florida. It was difficult getting adjusted to the new school and getting these new friends that I have now. Ever since I've attended Independence Elementary, which I've been doing since I've been in 4th grade, we've been told about how great Hebron was. And even now, we attend their we go to their, oh, sorry, I can't speak right now. All of our band's activities are funded by the Hebron Band Booster Club. We play football on their fields. And I even know some of the teachers at Hebron right now. We almost feel like we're part of a, say, Hebron's family almost. We don't have many connections to the Colony High School, and it's pretty much all new to us. In 9th grade, almost everyone I know will be attending Hebron, and kind of feel like we'll be left out. It's like starting all over again almost. I ask you to consider our plea with favorability and allow the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students to attend the only high school we are familiar with, Hebron High. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Alex Hayes.
Good evening and thank you for your time. I speak on behalf of Meridian, the neighborhood, and I would like to propose for you to give us the opportunity to choose which high school we would like to go to. Not just because we will be able to keep a connection with our friends, but also because our activities and events will be able to be on the same level. Not saying that Colony isn't at our level or we're better than them. It's just that to help us stay more familiar and keep caught up with what's going on in Hebron. Everything we do does go to Hebron. We have barely nothing to do with the colony. The closest thing to the colony we have is going against them at an event. Everything we do goes to Hebron, including our money, our fundraisers, our events. Also, because of our friends, I would feel like very upset that just because we live in a certain neighborhood or a certain part of the area, we don't get to go to the same school that all of our friends do. The Pledge of Allegiance says liberty and justice for all. If you guys aren't allowing us to go to Hebron High School just because of where we are, you guys aren't giving us liberty. Thank you for our time.
Sham Pa.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Thank you for giving the opportunity to speak on behalf of Castle Hills North. Actually, I've been here in United States, America for 13 years. So I live 5 years in New York, 3 years in California, and I was moving back and forth from coast to coast. And finally, I decided to stay here. And I came here to stay here. Then after 2 years of staying in Texas, I was searching for 2 years for getting a house and getting a true of the American dream of getting a settled own house. And the only 3 points, actually 3 major decision to make a house in is schools, schools, schools. So all this search all on some websites and everything to better schools my kids. So I just again I'm opposing the Castle Hills North on behalf. There are so many communities here, my friends here. I'm opposing of this rezoning thing, which is losing my kids to have a better education and everything. I'm not saying that other education is school good, but I have meant so much money on here, and I have so much future of this my kids, and I can't again saying that, hey, can we go to another school? Then we have a friends issue, and they're all this. We already moving to coast. So I'm requesting you to consider to this keep the Castle Hills North community in the Hebron High School. Thank you very much.
Stephen Phillips.
Good evening. My wife and I were relocated to Texas about 3 years ago, and I probably represent a minority of those of us here today from Castle Hills and Meridian in that we haven't started a family yet. Soon. But when we moved to Texas, we spent a year choosing a place to live. I think everybody will probably agree that buying a home, excuse me, I haven't got used to the hay fever in Texas yet, but buying a home, I think most people will agree, is probably the largest purchase that we'll make in our lifetimes. And we spent a year searching for where that would be when we picked Meridian. One of the main reasons we did that was the school system. I think that we can all probably agree that if that's not the number one choice that we have in buying a home or consideration in buying a home, it's probably in the top 3. And while I don't have any children yet that are considering which high school to go to, I will come out and say that I think Hebron is the better high school. And that when I have children at that age, I hope that they have the opportunity to go there. So in addition to that concern, I'm also concerned about property values. I am humbled. I am humbled speaking after these young men who did an excellent job. But nonetheless, I am concerned about property values, and I ask that the board consider the impact that rezoning us to the colony would have on our property values, and I think that indirectly that will affect the city of Lewisville and the ISD as well. So I would ask that you consider the rezoning based on that, and I thank you for your time.
Next, Sarah, Samaja, and Michelle. Which one will be speaking, or all three? Are you going to split minute, minute, minute?
Hi. My name is Michelle Nowen. I'm an 8th grader at Killian Middle School, and I live in Meridian. And ever since I was in 6th grade, we were told we were going to go to Hebron. And then about a month ago, we learned we're going to go to Colony. And that seems kind of unfair because Hebron's where all my friends are going. And these past years, I've built relationships with them. Also, when I was younger, we moved around a lot, so I know how hard it is to be the new girl and to find new friends. And this is such an important time to have friends and so you can have fun in high school and middle school. And I also know lots of the Hebron coaches, which will make it easier to go into sports there. And Hebron offers the 9th grade center, which makes high school seem less intimidating, I guess.
Hi, my name is Sarah. I'm in 7th grade at Killian Middle School. I currently play the clarinet and honors band. During the first semester, we played with the Hebron band during their football night. We created close relationships with the high schoolers as we talked and played in the stands during their football game. We also own the music for their pep rallies, and we do not own the music for the Colony High School. Last Friday, Mr. Seeley, who is the director of the Hebron band, directed our band. He taught us lots of different techniques, such as when to play louder and when we should blend in with the other players, and we are currently adjusting to how he teaches us. Switching would be very difficult because although Mr. Seeley's techniques are unique, they are also efficient and effective, and we don't know how the Colony High School's band director is.
Hi, my name is Samara. I am a 6th grader at Killian Middle School, and I came from Independence, and I just started making new friends that came from Castle Hills, and I even made like best friends. And for like 7th and 8th grade, I'm like gonna make even more friends. Then when it comes to 9th grade, and I would have to go to Colony, they would all go to Hebron, and then I would be split up from them. So then I would have to make new friends. And
Thank you for your time. We hope that you reconsider where we're allowed to go to school.
Thank you. Next, Janet Choi.
Thank you so much for this time. I don't know if Dr. Waddell remembers when you first came to Independence Elementary School, there were 3 girls that were showing their school around the tour, and one of them was my daughter, Andrea, and when she came home, she was just so excited to say, I got to show him my school, and she was just so excited. And I'm not sure if you noticed, but she's a social butterfly. She loves people. I mean, she can make friends within 10 seconds. And when I told her about that she will not be going to Hebron High, she was just devastated because she made so many friends. And our first home was in Carrollton, Texas, and at the time they were going to Hebron Valley. And when we were about to move, we were looking at different locations. We also looked at Castle Hills. But we wanted something that was a little bit smaller, community that was more closer, that represented our older homes from Carrollton area. So we chose Meridian at the time. When you look into our address, it's Lewisville, Texas, not Colony, Texas. Our trash, our water supply, everything comes from the city of Lewisville. And that was back in 2007. And when we talked to the builder, initially, I guess when they were developing the area, it might have been for Colony, but they said, by the time you guys, if you purchase your home, you'll be going to Coyote Ridge, not to the Colony School. And I said, what about for the high school and middle school? They said, most likely you're going to be feeding into the high school because you're starting from Coyote. Well, as a second homeowner, I just didn't want to trust the builder's word for it. I actually called LASD zoning department, and I spoke to the representative there who told me, this is my address, where will my kids go as far as high school? Because they've attended Hebron Valley for years, and they have friends who will be going to Hebron High School. And she told me they're going to build a 9th grade center. Don't worry, Meridian will be for Hebron. It will be rezoned for that, so you don't need to worry about it. With that, because I double checked with the builder and also for with the zoning department, we purchased a home, and it was a big purchase for us as well. But with all the rezoning, they went to Independence. Now they're at Killian. And so when they go to Hebron, they're going to meet all their friends from Hebron Valley, Coyote Ridge, and also from Killian. And it's going to be a wonderful reunion for them. But just like our fine, young kids have spoken, my daughter is the first chair in the honors percussion. And she went, and out of those 10 kids, she'll be the only one going to Colony High. And my older one is also devastated because when you're part of a band, it's all about who you're with. It's your gang, it's your buddies, and she's not going to have any of that. And she's thinking, what am I going to do when I go to this new school, new surroundings, not knowing? And, she had her, the percussion teacher for 3 years, and who will be also teaching at the Hebron House. So it will be like continuation of her education as well, not just academics, but also for that. So I really would like for board members to consider how it impacts the children, psychologically, emotionally. Thank you.
Next, Tony Munoz.
Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Waddell, thank you for allowing us the time to speak to you tonight. I know it must be difficult hearing all these parents and trying to balance all of these voices and choices and individuals that come up with ideas. I'd like to say that it took 2 years for me and my wife to find a house. We looked in Rockwall, Rowlett, Mesquite, Dallas, Grand Prairie, Fort Worth, Coppell, Lewisville, and one day saw 19 homes in Plano. And my wife was 7 months pregnant, so that was not good. It came down to Coppell and it came down to Lewisville. And the deal breaker was where our kids would go to school, and it was at Hebron. I have a 7th grader at Killian Middle School who's about to come up and share with you her thoughts. But I also have an 18-month-old. And my expectation and my desire is that he go to Hebron. We would request that the administration come with an alternative map that would keep Castle Hills North and Castle Hills together at Hebron. Our children have formed bonds. My daughter's in the cheerleaders. She wants to be, her dream is to be a Hebron Hawk, to be on the cheerleading team. I also noticed that there's another agenda item that talks about campus budget allocations. So we know that if we don't, we've removed students from Hebron, then that's going to impact campus budget allocations for teachers. So that would mean less teachers for Hebron. So that is another effect, a side effect of losing these students. The other thing that I'd like to share with you tonight is this. I keep hearing that we're unpopulated. I've researched, everything I've read says an unpopulated area south of 121. So right now I'd like to ask my neighbors from Castle Hills North to please stand up. Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Waddell, as you can see, we are populated. We have families. We have children. We have future Hebron Hawks. And so we humbly request that you reconsider and keep our children together. Thank you very much.
Dochi Munoz.
Hi, that was my dad. So, I'm Sochi. I'm a 7th grader at Killian. I found out from a friend that we have to go to the Colony High School now instead of Hebron with my buddies. Why should some people in Castle Hills get to go to Hebron while we don't? That's really unfair. And right now, I just signed up to be a cheerleader, and my dad paid like $600. So, yeah, and so because when I grow up, I want to be a Hebron Hawk and be a cheerleader there. I ask you tonight to not separate me from my friends and keep us together. We are good students, and we deserve to fulfill our dreams and academically and stuff like that. So, thanks.
Thank you. Ali Hussein.
Hello. I am speaking on behalf of Meridian. I'm currently part of the Student Council Symphonic Band and GT program. As a kindergartner, I was in Castle Hills, moving on to Coyote Ridge for 3 years, later finding out that I'd have to move to Independence. And now, just adjusting, I learned we have to go to Hebron High School. We're going to go to Colony. So a lot of the friends I've made, like John Peter, Alex Hayes, it's going to be pretty hard for all of us to move to Colony, especially when we've finally gotten so adjusted to where we are right now. I really think that this decision, I really don't agree with this. I really hope that you guys will change the way you're thinking. Thank you.
Thank you. Kishava.
Dear respected members and my fellow residents, good evening everybody. Today I'm here to represent same as my fellow residents spoke just now on the rezoning of Castle Hills North from Hebron High School to Colony High School. The basic reason why we buy a home in America is by keeping our children education in the future consideration, right? When we buy the homes, you just know saw how strongly and sound populated we are right now in the Castle Hills North. 300 home residents, basically, they bought the homes by by considering that their kids go to the Hebron High School. And moreover, when we start the education right from the elementary to the high school, from the other Castle Hills, the students and our Castle Hills students, same students basically, same community students, they go together till the middle school, and in the middle school, after the middle school, you're actually separating some of the students. They are sending, you're trying to send it to the Colony High School. Some of them you're trying to send it to the Hebron High School. This definitely, that's a basic, most important age of a child. The high school is the most important phase of their life for a student. That if you separate the students at that age, definitely that will impact most of the negative effects. Definitely a deep impact on the student's life, children's life at that age. So definitely by considering all this into your consideration, and most of my fellow residents already explained you a lot of things. I don't want to take much time, definitely. So by considering all this into this thing, please, we are requesting you to reconsider this again, your decision, and please try to keep our students, let them grow together, let them keep together. Thank you.
Rachel Becerra.
I live in Castle Hills North, and I actually was one of the first homes built in Castle Hills North. And at the time, it was definitely undeveloped area. I bought my house off of a piece of paper. And the deciding factor for that was knowing that my kids were going to be able to attend Hebron High School. I have a daughter in the 9th grade at Hebron. I have another daughter who attends Killian Middle School. And I can't even imagine the thought that there's a possibility that they may have to attend 2 different high schools in the next 2 years. It would create extreme hardship on me as a parent and on our family. And I just ask that you please reconsider the proposal for the rezoning. I walk outside my house now and I see streets full of homes and families and kids. We're definitely not an undeveloped area. Thank you.
Bilal Khan.
Madam President, board members, Dr. Wadal. I moved about a year ago from New York, and I knew one friend of mine lived here, so before we move in, the most important thing we ask is, I have a 7th grader who goes to Killian Middle School. So the first thing we ask is, where will be the best school? One of my friend's son goes to Hebron High, and he says, if you buy a house in Castle Hill, you're definitely going to Hebron High. And my son have a bond with the kids. And also, when we moved from New York, he was like kind of devastated and says, you know, he's leaving all his friends. He went from kindergarten all the way up. And here now, 2 days ago, when I told him, I said, hey, we're hearing some more news now. And his response was, please, Dad, not again. So I will request that we keep the Castle Hill as one, as united as it is. And like we see that it says unpopulated. I see kids playing all day. Okay. My kids have all the fun with them. They go to basketball and everything. And when the Hebron have any event or games, my son goes and enjoy and cheer for them. So I will request you guys to reconsider this rezoning things and just keep them together and let the kids grow together and become a good citizen. Thank you for your time.
Christopher Woods.
President Gregg, thank you. I hope you can hear me with the microphone as I lean over. I appreciate the opportunity to speak, and I thank you for having dedicated your lives to education and hearing us voice our concerns. I think in such an open forum, it's very gracious of you to do so, so thank you. Like many of my friends and neighbors from Castle Hills North, we're here today to give our comments in relation to the zoning that has been proposed. We were in a meeting before we came a couple of days ago, and I was very impressed by our neighbors. We had 2 gentlemen come to our door. They knocked on our door. And one of them said, I don't speak English very well, can you listen to my friend? And it was very impressive to see the passion of some of the neighbors in our community who are very concerned about their children's education. Like many before me, we bought a home here specifically so our children could attend Castle Hills. I assured some of my neighbors who are immigrants that they need not worry about not being heard. I too am an immigrant. I came from a country, or as referred to many of my friends in Texas, the country of California. And we are very glad to be here. I have a background in government and in finance. It's been a very difficult economy. And since 2006, when I first got out of graduate school with my MBA, I've moved my family 4 times. One moved to North Carolina, one to Virginia, another moved to California, and out of here. So it's had a bit of an impact on my family, and it was very important to my wife and I. Both of us came from families that didn't have money, so I worked myself through undergrad. I had 8 semesters of academic scholarship. I made the dean's list at a top MBA program. And we decided when we finally settled down in this economy, we had several job offers in the last year. And I passed on two that I could almost kick myself for having passed on, but then an opportunity came up. I'd done a lot of business in the Plano area, even where I lived in California. So I came home and talked to my wife, an opportunity came up at a different company. And we came here and we looked at homes. And I'd been coming here on business for about 18 months. And certainly I've been very fortunate in my life. I certainly haven't made the sacrifices to immigrate to Texas as some of my friends and colleagues have had. We looked at two homes finally after looking at several neighborhoods throughout the area, and we too looked at homes in Grapevine, we looked at homes in Plano, we looked at homes in other parts of Lewisville. It came down to two homes that we could stretch the budget and we can afford, even with my grad school debt that I'm still paying off, to buy a home in Castle Hills North. We looked at another home slightly older, a little bit less expensive in Castle Hills, and the deciding factor of why we could buy a home that was slightly newer was that both homes were in this neighborhood for Hebron High School. We want our kids to be together. We're in various play groups, mother support groups, sports leagues with other members of the community in Castle Hills. Please keep us together. We want you to consider what you do for your own children, whom I'm assuming you had great interest in their education as well. And we know that you have an educational interest in our children. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our last speaker is Arville. Okay.
Honorable Madam President and honorable members and representatives of the board. I am also here as one of the representatives of Castle Hills North community. And we are here to express our concern regarding the rezoning of the populated area of the Castle Hills North and moving it out of the Hebron High School. Our main reason we bought the house was to send our kids to Hebron High School. The first thing we thought about when we bought the house was about which high school our kids might be going. And we invested a lot of time, energy, and money researching about the different areas. And the only concern, the only point that we were interested was about the high school to which it belongs to. And we finally zeroed it on the Castle Hills North because it feeds into the Hebron High School. As part of the Castle Hills community, we have a lot of community kit activities, and which already has built an unbreakable bond among the kids of the community, and also they go to the same elementary school and the middle school. It is our intent that they maintain that bond, as we heard from a lot of kids over here today. We want them to maintain that bond and continue to go to the Hebron High School so that they can be well educated apart from maintaining that friendship. Personally, and as far as other members of the community are concerned, education is a priority for all of us. And we have been successful to a greater extent because of the education we got, because of the friendship we had, and because we belong to certain schools when we were all kids and when we studied. We want same or the better school environment and the same bonding to be maintained for our kids. And especially I'm concerned about my daughter. She is just a year old right now, but you can imagine that I have been thinking so ahead that I could zero in on Hebron High School. And that's the same thing with all the 250 residents who signed the petition today. We have been thinking not just 1 or 2 or 3 years, we have been thinking 15, 20 years ahead. And before we thought all those things before we decided on buying the house. And so because of all these reasons, I request you to reconsider rezoning the proposal and continue to keep us as part of the Castle Hills North Zone and continue to keep us within the Hebron High School. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Our next item on the agenda is information items, and we will hear from Dr. Haynes on the proposed policy deletion, EIAB local grading process progress reports.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This item is brought to you this evening as a result of our TASB consultant, Ms. Kathy London, who reviews our policy as we bring her policies, and it was her recommendation when we were reviewing the EIA part of the local policy that homework requirements is better suited for the handbook and not for local policy. So this is basically a cleanup. We will rescind this policy, and we will incorporate in our 2012-13 handbook those appropriate guidelines established for homework.
Thanks. Our next item is the TRS Active Care increase for 2012-2013. We don't really want to hear it, however, it was there. Dr. Haynes.
Here, Mr. Sam Russell, our Director of Business Operations, is here to present that information for the board.
Thank you.
Yes, Madam President, Dr. Waddell, members of the board, for the third year in a row, our health insurance is going to be increased. And quite frankly, I don't see any stop to this. In reviewing the information that's available on the TRS website, one can watch either live or on demand the Board of Trustees meetings, and it appears that this cycle is not going to stop anytime soon. So what we have is a blended rate increase that results in an overall 6% rate increase, but each of the plans was given a different rate increase by the board, the TRS Board of Trustees. And as you can see in the handout, 4% for Active Care 1, 6% for Active Care 2, and a 9% rate increase for Active Care 3. Any questions on that?
I have one question. What are the majority of our members on?
Yes, ma'am. We have participation in Active Care 1. Both plans combined is approximately 23%. Participation in Active Care 2 is at 73%, and Active Care 3 about 2.5%. About 50% of our employees are on Active Care Plan 2, employee only, of those that elect the plan. And about 75% of our employees who are eligible for benefits elect our medical plan.
Any other questions?
I would like to thank Mr. Russell for trying to catch me when I fell off the stage at the employee work. And Quinn, it's good to see you're still alive, sir, since you're about half my size.
I am excited to let you know that we're going to be offering a health savings account for the first time. This is a little bit different than what we've done in the past. We've always offered a flexible spending account, and for our employees, we're seeing a transition from Active Care 2 and 3 into Active Care 1, which are the high deductible plans. We saw that last year with a 10% rate increase. I expect to see it again this coming year. And so for those employees that are electing a high deductible health plan, we're going to offer the health savings account, which is slightly different than the flexible spending account in that it is a plan that rolls over from year to year. And when the employee leaves, they get to take that money with them. So it's similar to a medical IRA in that respect. Any questions on that?
Mr. Russell, it's evident what it's going to cost the teachers. What does it do to the district contribution to the medical plan?
The rate increase proposed by TRS and voted by them does not affect our district contribution. That's something that the board would have to act on if you wanted to increase that district contribution. We're at a level where we're okay in terms of the maintenance of effort, so we can't go much lower, but we could go higher based on the decision of the board.
So the employees are taking all the increase?
That's
Is that
correct,
right?
yes, sir. All the increase is being passed on to the employees.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Russell. Our next item for information is the update on the Marcus and Flower Mound ninth grade center. Dr. Burnett?
Thank you, Ms. Gregg, members of the board, and Dr. Waddell. We have tonight with us from PBK, Irene Niagliano. I think I said that right, Irene. I'm sorry. Please come forward, as well as Michael Perry, our Executive Director for New Construction. As you know, our ninth grade centers are the next item as we're trying to move the 2008 bond program forward. We discussed the location of the ninth grade center at the Marcus campus with our bond oversight committee in late February, and we got favorable response, except for we still haven't resolved to our satisfaction the issue of parking. That they're going to bring to you the updates on where the, at least in the concept drawings, where we think we are on the location of the footprint of the buildings, and as we prepare to schedule and start the charrette design process at those campuses. So, Mr. Perry.
Thank you, Dr. Burnett. President Gregg, Dr. Waddell, members of the board, thank you for the opportunity this evening to provide you an update on where we are with the two ninth grade centers. Again, as Dr. Burnett said a moment ago, I want to stress that these are conceptual drawings. Really what we've done is we've asked our architect to go out and do a feasibility study to speak of. Could these facilities be placed on our campus? You'll see some things that we may need to shift around and move around later and as we go through the charrette process and the design process. But really what we've asked our architects to do tonight is, could this be done? Is it feasible? And we've got some great concept drawings for you to take a look at tonight, and it really opens up a lot of conversation about what the opportunities are for our ninth grade centers. So having said that, let me introduce Irene, and I'm going to pronounce it correctly, Nigagliani. It's a challenge, but it's a great word, and they've done a great job for us here. So let me step back and let them show you the concepts.
Thank you, Michael. Ms. Gregg, Dr. Waddell, members of the board, we're very excited to be here tonight to present to you just some initial concepts for the ninth grade centers at Flower Mound High School and Marcus High School. And as everybody has stressed, these are just conceptual as we look forward to the collaborative process of the design charrette here at the end of the month for Flower Mound and the beginning of April for Marcus. With me tonight is Richard Cheat. Richard is one of PBK's partners and our design director, and I'm going to let him share with you the design that we have, or the concepts that we have so far for these.
All right, let's take a look at the first. This is an aerial photo showing the existing Marcus High School, and so this is pretty much the footprint of existing building. And as you see, the stadium's located here in the south and the parking around the existing high school. And so one idea, and this is Dixon Lane here, and this is another property, which is the current stadium and baseball with some parking here. And so the idea is, where is the best location or possible location for this ninth grade center? And one idea is perhaps the ninth grade center could be located in this possible location where it's attached, or it becomes part of the, it's attached to the existing high school, and at the same time it could still be isolated and standalone building. In this case, we're showing this could be potentially the new entrance, the new entry facing the main road, and this could be another gym that's attached or adjacent to the existing gym, really create synergy with this existing gymnasia. And we're showing the two-story academic area as well as a separate library and commons. And in this case, we're showing that since we're taking over some parking spaces, so one possibility is perhaps a parking structure or just more surface parking. And those are just options that we will continue to explore. And another issue here is since we're placing the new building here, we'll have to relocate the existing indoor training facility as well as the existing softball field. In this case, it actually allows us to create a nice sports complex in this existing site.
Yeah, as Richard mentioned, our biggest challenge is parking for the site because as the city requires for the stadium, if we were to do all surface parking here, we'd be about 200 spaces short, which is not very much, which means that through some reconfiguration of the parking on site, we could try to capture just 200 spaces. So it's a possibility. We did show a parking structure just as an option, but not necessarily one that we are pushing forward. We just wanted to let you know that we have evaluated all available options at this site. Moving to Flower Mound High School. Again, just to orient you, Peters Colony at the top, the entrance to Flower Mound High School facing Peters Colony, and you have your stadium right behind it, softball field, some of your practice fields, the parking down at the bottom, and Old Settlers Road, which is really the front, or where you see the front of the stadium.
And so another possibility here is what if we create this new proposed ninth grade center in this location, which we can create this main hallway, the main street that connects to the existing high school. And the idea is this becomes the main entrance with all the drop-off facing this main road. And this would be a two-story classrooms with gymnasium attached to the existing gym, as well as the commons. And towards the back would be the bus drop-off. With additional parking. And what we did here was relocate the existing practice fields as well as the softball field from the existing location.
And again, parking being the main consideration here, but we feel that with this layout that you see here, we meet the requirements for the city for parking at this location, and we can keep everything within the same site. With that, we'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have or get any concerns that you have.
Thank you. Board, are there any questions?
I've got a question on I think it was Marcus. When you say moving the indoor training facility, is that the new field house that was just built?
No, it is the old, the indoor training facility to the left of that. As a matter of fact, the new field house is right there.
Okay.
We would leave that building alone, so.
And then on Flower Mound, where it says 3-story, is there any issues with the neighborhood behind there?
No, we visited with the city, and as there's some setbacks that we have to maintain in order to do a 3-story facility. And again, this is just one proposal that makes it a little bit more compact at 3 stories, but we expect that during the charrette that might go to 2 stories. But we visited with the city, and as long as we meet their setbacks, we are okay to build a 3-story classroom area. When you consider the gymnasium and some of those spaces are already pretty high volume, almost 3 stories, it's not going to be a much more higher structure.
Any other questions?
I have one. So this is preliminary. Have you, you have not sat down with staff or anything like that with this discussion on this yet, right?
No, as Mr. Perry said, we're just doing a feasibility study of could it fit on site.
Okay.
We have visited with the campus administration about the pros and cons of having the footprint on the site or close to the high school. We have done that. We have visited with the campus administrative staff about that as compared to having it off-site and having to the issues of transporting students and sharing staff and those kinds of things.
Okay, so you've just discussed the feasibility of having it on site, not necessarily where it is or what it would encompass.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Is it still a possibility to have it off-site then? Or are we strictly looking at on-site?
To date, we have, out of all the options that we've looked at, these are the ones that appear to work best as far as the footprint, simply because of all the issues associated with having it off-site.
Okay, because Marcus has got that facility where the baseball diamond is. We've got that land sitting there. I just wonder if that was considered half mile down, I don't know.
We began, when we first started on this, we began by thinking about off-site, because that was kind of what was in people's minds, including our own. But our thoughts were, if we could put it on-site, we didn't even know if it's possible. We thought if it go on-site, it would probably be preferable to having it on some other location. So that was why we did this, just to see, working with our architects once, to see if it's possible to feasibly do that. And, what we're demonstrating here this evening is it is. And I think, Dr. Burnett, this was discussed with the Oversight Committee, and they got that was a favorable response from them as well on this.
We did. We visited with the Bond Oversight Committee about the Marcus plan, and about the possibility of the pros and cons, and the response we got was extremely favorable by having it on the same site, close to it, where the students can, faculty, and it avoids having to walk students down the street or busing or those kinds of things.
I think this is a great idea, and it looks like we've learned a lot of lessons. And I think keeping the 9th grade on the campus with the main school like we have Hebron is a wonderful idea, and it definitely saves a lot of money and transportation and shared staff, and builds the synergy that the parents have been talking about. It's a great idea. Glad they put the effort out.
I have an administrative question. For the last 2 to 3 years that the board has been selling Lewisville that it's better to have 2 9th, 10th grade centers and 1 11th, 12th and spread them all over. But now we're saying that's not a good plan, that we need to go back to putting them all on the same campus. I'm a little bit confused.
They didn't have the land for the Lewisville to get on the same campus.
Well, the point of parliamentary procedure, Madam Gregg, this is not posted for board deliberations, so I think we're getting off target here.
I'd still like an answer to my question.
Well, Mr. McDaniel, we just make the best decisions we can when we get here, and try to make the best recommendations as to the projects we're working on. That's all I can say in response to that. It's we have projects to do, and we just feel like our job is to bring you the best recommendation we can.
Any other questions? Hearing none. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Our next item is the 2012-2013 campus budget allocation. Dr. Burnett.
Thank you, Ms. Gregg. We're bringing you as information as we are really beginning to get into the heart of our budget preparation. The district has used campus allocation to flow money to the campuses for their site-based decision-making budgets. These are not their staffing budgets. That's a different format. It's a different formulas. But this is for those things where they make decisions about supplies, campus staff development, travel, and campus functions where they develop their budgets for. In the past, we've used a campus allocation. We've also used, there's also been some money that flowed to the schools for extra duty pay and for those kinds of things. And we folded all of those amounts in and created one allocation that's and it's more than it has been in the past. And we've also, instead of just using enrollment, we have created a student demographic index, which tries to recognize the characteristics of our students, which are some things of those students that qualify for free and reduced lunch, the student mobility, students who are in special ed, students who are in bilingual programs or ESL programs, to give an idea, to create a student demographic count and flow money based on that count, which provides those schools that have higher numbers of students that may require more resources to have more resources available to them. We're also proposing that the campuses are allowed from year to year to take their general fund campus budgets, their site-based budget, And instead of going out and doing a end of the year spending frenzy, because they either use it or lose it, that we're going to create a system which will allow the campuses to carry over up to 20% of their monies so that they can actually engage in some productive long-range planning for their campuses beyond just the current budget year. So this plan will flow slightly in the more than $500,000 to all the campuses, which, 60 campuses, that's about $10,000. So now that's a very round number. It actually depends on their enrollment projections. It depends on student demographic accounts, but no campus will lose money under this plan.
Thank you. When I read that, I was really happy to see that allocation for the demographics and all, because that's very important. Board, do you have any questions?
I have a question. Dr. Burnett says the 2012-13 campus allocation will exceed what it would have been, and you stated that no campus will lose money under this program, and it mentions LHS 10th graders to Harmon.
Well, if a campus
Did we
that
leave
loses
Kilo out?
a campus that loses enrollment would see a decrease.
Okay.
And we're shifting students away from LHS and over to Harmon. That's a kind of an anomaly that is going to happen for next year.
Dr. Burnett, how much was returned from the schools last year of unused funds from this line item?
I don't have that figure. Is Teresa, if she may have that number off the top of her head, I don't know.
That's my point. I'm wondering if 20%, if they're looking at some long-term capital project that they want to purchase at a later date, I'm wondering if 20% is not an incentive at all to try to get them to, save where they can. I'm wondering if we would be better off moving that up to a 50%, something so it's an amount that they can try to save on their budget, but also help the district as well. Just a thought.
I've used 20% before, and it works really well with the campuses. We'll be happy to take a look at that. We'll be happy to, if we start at that amount and then evaluate it and see if it merits bumping it up some more. We're not, we don't know that 20% is a magic number, but we think that's a good place to start, and we know at least that number does work.
Thank you.
I would think that 20% is a realistic number, because I can remember not ever having enough, and you would spend everything and then try to go find more. So 20%, I would not think that there would be any classrooms that would be able to save 20% of their allocated budget.
But if I remember in the past, the principals would have money left over and they'd be spending it right up to the last minute because they knew they were losing it. So
Absolutely.
if we start out with 20% and we figure out later on that something else has to be raised, we can always do. But I think 20% is a good starting period.
Any other questions, concerns? Hearing none?
I think there's some confusion here. What you're saying is if they end up not spending $100, what they get to move forward is $20.
That's if their allocation is, say, $10,000, they would get to carry over as much as $2,000.
But that would be only
they'd spend $8,000.
They can move forward 20% of their whole budget.
Right.
Okay.
20% of their allocation.
The confusion was on my part.
If they didn't spend 20% of their allocation, they could roll that forward to the next year. So the next year they'd have that 20% plus their new budget allocation.
Well, the real number is they can save 100% of their savings, up to 20% of their budget. Yeah. I'm a mathematician, trust me. Okay.
Thank you. We're down to discussion items, and our first is the rezoning unpopulated areas south of Highway 121. Dr. Rogers?
Thank you, Ms. Gregg. As Mr. Ellington, I think he'll make his way up. Anyway, a couple of things. First off, I had the privilege to speak to a Meridian parent today, and and I know you know this, I've worked in this district a long time, and I reassured the Meridian parent that the board is always open to the community members' input, and so I appreciate that. The other thing that is sort of a nice thing is, isn't it great to hear that people want to stay in the schools that they're in, and that's a nice problem to have versus the opposite. And but I'm going to turn the unenviable task over to Mr. Ellington to talk about the last thing that is not in your packet that I want to make sure you're aware of. And I know Dr. Waddell's office took care of this, is we have scheduled and we are in the process of sending out notification to parents that there will be a public forum, which is our normal practice, on March 22nd at 6:30 at Killian Middle School. And so that notification will be going out this week.
And that's for what?
For this.
The rezoning?
Yes, ma'am. So, Mr. Ellington.
Yes, as Mr. Rogers mentioned, we will be having a public hearing. It will be March 22nd. I will be sending out letters this week to all the parents that will be affected by this proposed rezoning with the date and time and location of that public hearing. As you know, we're at the discussion phase of the proposed rezoning from Hebron High School to the Colony High School. You're aware of the map. These folks voiced some legitimate concerns, and I enjoyed listening to them talk. I will say that moving forward, there will be other sections of Castle Hills built that will be in the proposed rezoning area. There are presently 400 lots planned by Chris Bright to go into production in mid-13. They'll lots be ready to put houses on. Being built by Chris Bright, that will also be part of Castle Hills. And that's located just east of, or just west of Josie and just south of the property that we own there. So even though I do understand their concerns, there will be other sections of Castle Hill, if this proposed rezoning passes, that will, in fact, go to the Colony High School. I'm here to take any questions you may want to have.
Rapid fire? Do you have a map that we can throw up on the screen?
No, ma'am, I'm sorry, I do not.
So I'm gonna, it's in the packet, it's on page 31.
Okay. I was hoping someone provided you the map.
We have the maps, it's in the packet.
Yes, no, I just
You
said,
just
can
want
you
the
put it on
audience to
this?
see?
Yeah, well, I'm talking, okay. How many students do we currently have in Castle Hills North, elementary, middle school, and high school? And if you don't know this,
I do.
okay. How many elementary?
Well, I don't know breakdown. We presently have 74 K
Total?
through 12, and 14 of those are 8 through 11. 14, and there's a total of 74 students presently in LISD that live in that neighborhood.
Okay, in this new area that Chris Bright is going to be developing, tell me where that is again?
That is just west of Josie and just south of the property that we own. We own property on both sides of Josie. The 400 lots will be located just south of our property on the west side of Josie Lane. I'm sorry.
If it was in the Austin Ranch area?
Austin Ranch is actually east of that. We refer to that whole largely unpopulated area as being Austin Ranch, which actually it's not. That's just the name that we use to identify where it is. Austin Ranch is actually west of the part that people live in is actually west of Plano Park, or I'm sorry, east of Plano Parkway. Can't get my directions straight tonight.
Somebody in technology is a genius. This is the map that was given to us, and now you understand why I'm confused, because Josie's not listed on here.
Okay, if you look at the 121 sign,
Yep.
Josie Lane will be located just to the west of that, going straight down to the.
It's not real clear on this, but if you look at north of 121, you see Main Street, it's really vague, but you can read it. That's Josie.
That's Josie, and it goes down to 544 Parker Road.
Okay,
Right there.
so this so Josie to Parker Road
Where's your, there
to
you go.
Plano, that's Castle Hills North?
This right here is Castle Hills North. It's just east of the railroad track. Oh, I don't know what I did, but there we go, sorry. Right here is Castle Hills North, just east of the railroad track going down through here. The 400 lots that are planned to be in production and ready to be built on by mid-2013 is located right here.
Do that again, because
Sorry.
your little pointer's not working. He's going to do it.
The 400 lots will be located right here. The present Castle Hills North is located right here.
And the 400 lots that are going to be developed are going to be called Castle Hills something or another?
I would assume they are being developed by Chris Bright, and Chris Bright is Castle Hills. So I mean, he hasn't told me that, but I would be extremely surprised if it did not have Castle Hills' name on it.
And we have a total of 74 kids in Castle Hills North now.
Yes, ma'am, K through 12. If you consider the proposal and pass it, then there will be approximately 14 kids that will be grandfathered into Hebron. The ones that are there presently and the 8th graders that will be coming in. 8th graders that will be 9th graders next year. And of course, any siblings that they have.
And the bigger chunk of the truly undeveloped land, the dirt that's there today with no people or a brick on it, that is the part that's going to have more single-family homes and multifamily
Yes, ma'am.
development, correct? Which
Yes,
is where
ma'am.
you're going to get a larger volume of students from, right?
Yes, ma'am, I would assume.
Mr. Ellington, if we grandfathered 6 through 12, how many additional children are we talking about?
You're talking probably 30 total, 6 through 12.
Which wouldn't affect Hebron High School that much?
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir.
And so the reason behind this is because of future overcrowding of Hebron to a point where we wouldn't have the buildings on site to handle the number of children. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Was proposed to have over 4,200 kids.
And the building was built for what capacity?
The building, both 9th grade and 10th, or both 9th grade and the 10 through 12 campus can hold approximately 3,400 kids.
So severe overcrowding?
Yes, it would be.
What other options do we have? Do you see?
I would like to know if it's possible to carve Castle Hills North that exists today out of this. I'm fine with... I'm fine with rezoning dirt.
Right, I would like to put a caveat in here, don't shoot the messenger.
No.
Anything is possible if the board directs me to do it, but you will run into the exact same problem when those 400 lots are built on, because they're Chris
They're not
Bright.
built on yet. I just
Ma'am?
said rezone what is
You are correct,
dirt.
you are correct, I'm just
Because if
saying.
it's dirt today and they're buying their home tomorrow, and then it's already zoned. If they're already a part of Castle Hills community, and too many times we have divided communities and we have sent kids. I live in Lewisville, and you know we split kids 9 different ways.
Yes, ma'am.
And it does affect. And I do understand when you buy your house and you're told these are the schools that you're zoned to, and Castle Hills does have a very large education foundation that they fund out of their own development over there. You know, I understand that. And they have been a good partner. They have been a good partner to LISD in the past, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I don't see that 74 kids is going to break the bank, but I could be wrong.
There, 74 kids obviously will not break the bank when they're spread out K through 12, but you need to understand there are probably an additional 160, I know 132 lots were just opened for production 3 weeks ago.
So Castle Hills is not completely developed?
No, ma'am.
Castle Hills North, I mean?
No, ma'am. There were 132 lots opened about 3 weeks ago to start selling and putting homes on in Castle Hills North. all of the apartments in the part that's, or houses in the part that's presently open, there are still empty lots there. Not many, but you're probably looking at 140, 150 lots that are empty in Castle Hills North that will have homes on them.
And how many kids did you tell Mike a minute ago we have at Hebron today?
At Hebron today,
Oh, you didn't tell him that?
I can tell you that as of February 24th.
Capacity is 32 to 3,400.
Right, and it's projected for 4,229.
If you leave Castle Hills
If you
North
leave it the
in?
way it is. Well, if you do not rezone, that is the projection for Hebron High School.
I would like to see a projection that includes Castle Hills North and that rezones the dirt. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am. Yes. I was just pointing out that when the 400, and I don't mean to be contrary, but when those 400 lots are built on, they are also going to be part of Castle Hills. And you're going to have the exact same thing of, well, we're part of Castle Hills community, why do we have to go here?
But if I rezone it when it's dirt, they can't come here and argue with me.
Actually, they will.
When they buy their house, it's already zoned that way, so they know what they're getting into.
I agree, but they can come argue.
Well, yeah, but then I have a better leg to stand on.
Right.
And could you also ask, maybe Mr. Bright could give you a recent plat of that Castle Hills North so that we can verify how many vacancies there are in the existing Castle Hills North area?
Yes, ma'am, I can get that information for
Okay.
you.
Mr.
All the lots are ready. There won't be any additional lots built. It's just about 140 of them that are empty.
Okay, I would just like to see that information
I
so
can
we
give you
can
the exact
verify.
number that are empty, yes.
Okay, thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Kind of follow up on that, though, just to make sure we're not creating disaster 3 years down the road. The 400 you pointed out with your laser, that's
That's
east?
west of Josie, and will be just
The
east of
group we're
Castle
moving
Hills
down, is
North.
that sitting between a group that already exists and the group if we were to leave them, is this right in the middle? When
No,
I was
sir.
watching your laser, that's where I got confused with the
Okay, I'm
400.
sorry. Which one you want me to do it? This
That
one?
would be better for me.
This is Castle Hills North right now.
Right.
The new 400 lots are going to be right here.
And the high school is?
Colony High School is right here. Hebron High School is right over here. Yeah. I can't see that. Yeah, it's about right here. The Colony High School is actually going to be approximately the same distance from.
That's fine, I was just
as
trying to
Hebron.
make sure
Yeah.
you're not.
Distance-wise, it's
Tonight
not a
it's
measurable
neighborhood.
difference.
Yeah, because I hear the neighborhood concern tonight, splitting kids out of neighborhoods, and I understand how it is, and I don't want to do it. You play with the kid across the street, you want to go to school with the kid, spend the night with the kid, go to the ball game with the kid. I hate to see that, and I just don't want to see that we're creating that same scenario 2-3 years down the road when those are developed. We need to look for a solution to this, but we need to keep that in mind, which you've pointed out. But again, I'm not a big fan of, as Ms. Latham said, going and splitting up neighborhoods, because, they do have a valid point there.
I would like to speak to the point, Ms. Craig.
I've got one, oh, okay, Mr. Ferguson, go on.
First of all, no one has the authority to set these lines but the school board. And no one has authority to promise anything regarding these lines. And this board cannot bind future boards. Like, whatever we zone this year could be changed next year. Everyone needs to understand that there's no permanent guarantee of anybody going to any school. We have 65 schools. I've been on this board 9 years. We've rezoned something every year because we had to.
Yes.
Hebron is, we didn't get, what is the attendance at Hebron today? 20-something hundred?
The population.
Population of Hebron today.
Yeah, that's what my question.
Hebron High School has 2,143, and the Hebron Ninth Grade Center has 760 as of February 24th.
So we have 2,900 students, and at the Colony, we have
1,800.
1,800.
You have, let me be specific here.
So it would be.
You have 1881.
It would be incumbent on us as the holders of the district's interest as a whole. We cannot afford to expand Hebron High School with that much capacity of the Colony. Okay, we've got to make use of the resources we have. Okay, I'm all in favor of looking at what we can do for the existing students, trying to see if we can help them out. But we've got to move some land into the colony. We have to.
What, my question was the capacity of, not in the future for Hebron, but what is the capacity that it was built for?
It was built for approximately 3,000 students.
Okay.
But as you know, capacity is determined by the programs you have there.
Absolutely. And the ninth grade center?
It's built for about 900. But again, those are numbers they throw out there to make the building look good. In reality, with all the special programs we have in our schools now, that capacity doesn't mean a whole lot.
Any other questions?
I just want to comment that I appreciate the direction the administration is taking to be proactive. I stated that in their proposal. I think especially on this side of 35, where growth is going to be exploding, and this is where our district's going to be experiencing the growth, we need to be as proactive as possible because of the reasons that many of the parents gave, which was we want our little ones to grow up. And not that we can guarantee that, but we want to put in place a secure of an opportunity for the future for families to buy a home and hope that they can have some kind of idea where their children would be going to high school. I think we're presented with a unique opportunity when I've looked at other districts and the zoning that they've had to go through. We do have a very large chunk of land, and there's nothing in the middle of it really as far as residences. It's just a very large open space of land, and so we can choose to do something with it now and hopefully prevent division or frustration in future high school zoning on that side of 35. And I think that's important because it is the last area of the district to grow, and it has been an area that's been a bit slower to develop community, and that community does come through a K-12 feel. So I really appreciate the proactive approach that the administration is taking here. As far as Castle Hills North, I look forward to the parent meeting and community meeting on the 22nd and sharing more information there as well.
Thank you. Anyone else? Ms. Collier?
Okay, so I've been on the board a while, sat through a lot of rezoning meetings. And I feel your pain. And I'm going to play it since I'm sitting here. We're going through a facilities evaluation and everything like that. And I am not one, because I still have another 2 years on this board, to put anything off a number of years. But while we're looking at the facilities standpoint, evaluating Hebron and the Colony High School and the feeder zone that goes up to it, and evaluating what's left in the 2008 bond package. I know originally when the land south of 121 was starting to be developed, there was a big, what's going to happen out there? Nobody really knows. And so more or less that was the dividing line between Hebron High School and then the Colony, more or less, except for when it ran up to Frisco. Well, even when it ran up to Frisco. But I have a point. Hold on. The area that we're looking at, when it, in 10 years, would that, and I'm talking about the area that's in the borderline between 121 and then across that border there, would that have, including some of the Colony students, have the population to support a middle school that would then feed into the Colony High School?
Ms. Kyer,
I love it. He loves it when I ask him these questions because he's just like...
the potential for growth in that area, we may need another middle school and another elementary school, to be quite honest with you.
Okay. And
that's a lot of land. You can have another, very easily, you can have another Castle Hills in that area of land, which is over 3,000 homes.
And I personally consider Castle Hills its own municipality, which it is. It's not part of Lewis. I think when I think of Castle Hills, I think of a town, to tell you the truth. And I know that if you look in different parts of all of our 13 towns, maybe 14 if you want to call Castle Hills, they're all split up to go to different schools. Nobody in Flower Mound goes to, Flower Mound High School, they go to Marcus. So there is a split there. So, you do participate in teams outside of school that make up of different students from across the area. But what I'm just saying is that what would the time frame be, and would Hebron be able to handle a few years of where we're holding this zoning until we can get the facilities done and talk to Mr. Bright and see if what will be the build out for that, and what was his expectations to look to see that's where we need to put the last middle school we have on the books, and then make it a combination, then they feed into the Colony High School. That's what I was asking. So I don't know if it's outside the box thing, and I'm sorry if I throw it in front of all these people, but that's all I was thinking.
I do know that Mr. Williams and maybe Dr. Burnett are meeting with Mr. Billingsley Friday to discuss possible community in there also.
Okay.
So I don't know any details of that, but I do know they are meeting with him Friday, and we'll have more information after that, I would assume.
Let me comment on your question. There is not a time when this will be easy. So deferring it a year, it just means you put off the difficulty for next year. There's never been a rezoning that's been easy to do in this district or any district. Frisco gets to do it every year in several places, and it's not a lot of fun for them. We've met with Mr. Bright, and we've discussed with him what his plans are. He appears to be pretty aggressive, and it also appears that Austin Ranch is also wanting to be aggressive with construction, and they're beginning soon. So when they're talking about a 2013 development, by that time they're selling lots. What we've heard some of the residents say in terms of what their thoughts were as they were purchasing will be the same thing that goes through people's minds when they look at these lots that get platted on both sides of Josie Lane. And so the longer this takes to do this rezoning, the more difficult it's going to become. No question, Ms. Kyer, that if this develops out, we're going to need probably a new elementary school, a new middle school, and south of 121. It's no secret. We put our demographic study out there last year. It's been out there 9 months, so it's been there for people to see and look at. And if that comes to fruition, we're going to need additional schools south of that boundary line. So, but what we do know at this point is the developers out there are going to build homes, and even though this is not an easy time to do it right here tonight in this meeting, talking about this, it won't get any easier, and it'll be more difficult as they start selling lots. And if the rezoning is not done, if it's delayed, then you're going to be talking about potential buyers who will be told, regardless of whether realtors do their homework, they'll be told that the current attendance patterns is what they can expect. And the other thing is, Mr. Ferguson, I thought, pointed out so well, there can't be any guarantees down the road. If a realtor says, you're going to be going to a particular zone, that may be true right now, but it may not be true in a fast-growth community, which we all enjoy, we've been enjoying. That's one of the pluses of our communities that we live in right now, is the high quality of life, and people want to live there. And that means there's always going to be the potential that there's going to be a rezoning going on. That's just a fact of life in fast-growth areas. It's an unpleasant one, but it's still a fact of life. So it doesn't get any easier the longer we wait, and no question that there's the potential for both elementary and middle schools down the road, and probably not in the far distant future either.
No, sir. One point of clarification I would like to make, I've heard it mentioned the foundation money from Castle Hills to the schools, and they do donate a lot to our schools, and we do appreciate it. I want you to be sure you understand that that money doesn't go to Hebron. That money doesn't go to Castle Hills. That money goes to any school that there is a student enrolled from Castle Hills. Mr. Bright gives a considerable amount of money to about 8 different private schools in the area also, as well as any kid that goes to any of our schools, they will get a portion of that foundation money.
Which
It
would
follows
include the Colony
student.
High School, is that correct?
Yes, sir. It follows the student. Any school that has a Castle Hills child in it gets X amount of dollars for that child.
Dr. Waddell, I agree that we don't need to delay this, but I don't think it hurts us. It's set as a discussion item, which means it would be an action item next month. I don't see any problem delaying it for another 30 days until we just try to work out any options that, might be available to us.
That's always possible.
Which we can do at the next, after the hearing, we can do that
Sure.
after the next, but it's, we delay it too long, it screws up their staffing.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. I guess we'll see you March 22nd.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Our next item, sale and refunding of the bonds. I see Mr. Martin here.
What I suggested, we take a short break so everybody
Yes,
can,
yes, exactly.
since they don't want to listen to this, to the selling of bonds
Okay.
for new schools, stuff like that.
I want to hear Mr. Martin talk about negative amortization. I don't know why anybody would leave.
Yeah. Take a stretch break.
Did you say snow cone? We don't say that.
We don't say that? I just did.
Let's not say that.
The meeting is called, the recess is over, and we will. Got a quorum?
Yeah, we did.
Okay. Are you okay?
Mr. Martin, I hope you don't take this
Are you
personally.
okay?
I hope you don't take this personally. We still love you.
Okay. All right. Our next item is Mr. Martin.
We presented this as an information item last month, and asked Mr. Martin to come in and give an update about the market and to give you a chance to discuss it some more and ask any questions that you may have.
We really don't have a whole lot more to report to you since we did last month. We're on track to come to you at your next board meeting on April 2nd, at which time we'll have a proposal to bonds that under what we call a parameter sale, which will give authorization to Dr. Burnett and Dr. Waddell to move forward with the sale of bonds so long as we meet certain thresholds. The bond market is still very, very favorable. Interest rates are still crazy low. And while they've moved up a little bit, and they've also moved down a little bit, and after everything's said and done over the last month, we've come up about 7 or 8 basis points. So we're still well within the numbers that we talked about in conservative estimates of 8.5 to anywhere from 8.5 million to $10 million in savings from refunding debt, which will then provide us with anywhere between 70 to $80 million in new money, construction dollars, and that will allow us just the refunding amount leveraged in, I think, Mr. McDaniel, to your point last month, in terms of the idea of taking that savings and leveraging in that into more new money at no cost to the taxpayer and just taking advantage of the lower interest rates for the taxpayer savings. I'm here to answer any questions. Again, we'll be back to you on April 2nd with a lot more information and a stack of legal documents for Ms. Gregg and Ms. Latham to sign.
Are you going to undergo any negative amortization here?
Well, that's a great question, Mr. Ferguson, and I'm prepared for that.
I knew you would.
No, I don't think that we'll be sitting with a little bit of a negative arbitrage in the 2006 series because those are not callable for another year. So we'll be paying roughly 4.5% on those bonds for another year and only being able to earn about 0.3 or 0.4% on that. So we'll be upside down, but the savings are so much greater that it makes a lot of sense. So the overall, there is some negative arbitrage in this transaction, somewhere in the neighborhood of $1.5 to $2 million. But the savings, again, $8.5 to $10 million or more than offset that. So it's worth the risk to go ahead and do it now, rather than hope that interest rates might be this low 2 years from now.
Thanks for correcting me. That's the term I was looking for, is negative arbitrage, yes.
Questions for Mr. Martin? Hearing none. Thank you very much. Now we're down to action items. The chair entertains a motion for the proposed policy change for EIA local academic achievement, the grading progress reports to parents.
Madam President, I propose policy change for AEI, local academic achievement, grading progress reports for parents.
It's been moved by Mrs. Fouty, seconded by Mrs. Collier. Any discussion? Hearing none, ready for the vote. All in favor? It is, are you abstaining? It is unanimous. Thank you.
I have a question now that we've passed that.
Okay.
We'll be rolling that information out quickly, correct? To parents?
It's on page 34. Your question
Yes.
is, Dr. Haynes?
Yes, Ms. Foudy. The information will go out, so not only parents will know, but the students as well as teachers and administrators will know the rules of engagement for end-of-course examination requirements.
Okay, thank you. The chair entertains a motion for the consider approval of TASB Policy Update 92. We've heard this and read this for several months. Are we ready?
So moved.
It's been moved by Mr. McDaniel, seconded by Mrs. Latham. Any discussion? Hear none. All in favor? It is unanimous. Thank you, Mr. McDaniel. The chair entertains a motion for the approval of a resolution for Texas Public Schools Week. Mrs. Latham's been asked to read that.
Well, first I'm going to make a motion that we approve the resolution for Texas Public Schools.
Second.
It's been moved by Mrs. Latham, seconded by Mr. Ferguson. Discussion?
We're going to read
Okay.
it. The resolution, LISD Board of Trustees, celebrate Texas Public Schools. Whereas March 2012, the students, educators, parents, and communities of public school districts throughout the state of Texas will recognize and celebrate the excellence in public education, and whereas the theme for this year is Imagine, Explore, and Discover, and whereas in schools across Lewisville ISD, students are engaged each day in learning from dedicated teachers who serve as facilitators on the journey, assisting and providing the tools most suited for exploration and discovery. And whereas all of our students enjoy thriving, productive lives and a future they create. And whereas students are attaining a higher level of achievement because of the engaging level of work provided by their teachers and the collaboration with their peers in work that compels them to make a personal commitment to excellence. Whereas parents and community leaders provide support along the journey, encouraging the attainment of new knowledge, partnering in the excavation of learning. Now therefore be it resolved that as students imagine, explore, and discover the details of their educational journeys, that we as a larger educational community continue the support and encouragement, instilling the understanding that learning is lifelong and their journeys for discovery must be shared so that others may know of the excellence that occurs in our public schools each and every day. To be signed today by myself and Ms. Gregg.
Thank you, Mrs. Latham. Are we ready to vote? All in favor? It is unanimous. Thank you very much. Consent agenda.
I make a motion.
It's been moved by Mrs. Latham, seconded by Mrs. Fauti. Any
discussion, I would like to pull out under number 2, business, at the number A, consider approval of financial reports, including January financial report, January bond report, and construction report. Specifically, the construction report I would like to pull out.
I just had a question on
Are
one.
those the questions, Mr. McDaniel, or are you asking to divide the question, to vote on those separately?
To vote on that separately.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's a motion, Ms. Craig, to divide the question.
Okay. Well, can't we just,
we made a motion to...
we move that we accept the consent agenda. Can we?
That's been seconded.
And it's been seconded. Can we?
Made a motion to divide the question.
Can we rescind that one?
No, he just makes an amended motion.
Okay.
I can make an amended motion to
Okay,
pull the item.
I thought the procedure normally was we just ask if anybody had one of those before we made the
Okay.
motion. But I'll be glad to amend the motion. I would like to amend the motion to pull out the construction report under the business title and vote on it separately.
Okay. There was a question that I had about, since we're pulling those, the Apple Mac.
Wait. Somebody second his amended motion.
Okay, amended? Do you, and that?
I'll second it.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. McDaniels has amended the motion to pull
The construction report.
construction, or first 2A and 2,
Okay.
That's all under A also. And I would like to... No, I'll leave it alone.
It can't be amended again.
I'll leave it alone.
Point of parliamentary procedure. Do you have a question, Ms.
You should
Gregg?
have, at the beginning, should have asked to pull consent.
Do you have a question, or do you have something you want voted on separately, Ms. Gregg?
Okay.
Do you have a question, or do you have something you want voted on separately?
I just had a question, but that...
Well, you can ask a question
Okay, then we
anytime.
I can ask a question about it.
Okay, so the amended, clarify the question is on the adoption of the consent agenda with item 2A stricken from it at this time.
Exactly.
Correct.
All right. Are you ready for discussion? We're ready for discussion? Well, we can discuss all of it now.
Not the way he just
said. Right now, we need to
Discussing the
approve.
amendment.
We're discussing the amendment to strike that. I don't think anybody objects just to.
Right.
Can you have a
Right, so
separate
we're gonna
question,
vote
so
on
we
that.
should vote on that.
Right.
That approves the rest of the consent agenda.
All right.
No, that
I'm
is.
sorry, approves the amendment. I'm
That
sorry.
approves his amendment. So
I'm
all in
sorry.
favor to
I'm an Aggie.
approve
Ms. Gregg,
All in
please call
favor
it.
of...
Mike's amendment to
the amendment.
exclude 2A.
Okay. That is unanimous to, we're voting on to approve Mr. McDaniel's amendment to the motion to,
Exclude 2A.
to extract and consider approval of financial reports, including January financial reports and the January construction report and bond report.
Right. Yes.
Okay?
So now we can ask questions about the other consent.
Now we can discuss the
agenda.
consent agenda.
Right.
Question.
Mr. Knapp.
In the wireless service, was Verizon considered a vendor in that decision? Okay, we need to pull that one.
What, which
Well,
one?
You can just,
5.
you can just.
You have to
abstain.
recuse yourself.
Or abstain from the whole thing.
Yeah.
Well,
I had a question on the Apple RFP 2183-11, Apple Mac Apps Products Software Services, DIRS DDD 891 Apple Products. Amber Fulton would be impressed.
Yeah, that was the one I had a...
My question, and Ms. Gregg has questions too, how many Apple products are being purchased and what will they be used for, and by who will they be used by?
Well, currently, we are looking at ordering 1,000 units to be used by AP World History for content delivery instead of purchasing textbooks. We also have some pilots that are using iPads. And basically some with Title I funds, and those are being looked at by the curriculum department and technology to make sure that they're tied to the curriculum for use.
So these are going to be checked out by kids, or they're given to teachers?
They are assigned to teachers. Now, the 1,000 for AP World History will be assigned to the students instead of a textbook.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yes.
I understand now. Okay, thank you.
You said they will be assigned to students? They will, or just used in the classroom?
They will be assigned, and they will be able to put them in their backpacks and take them home.
Okay.
If we
Okay.
might elaborate, for years and years, the state has sent money to districts in the form of textbooks, and they've purchased books. They just recently have allowed school districts using the instructional materials allotment to buy electronic textbooks and electronic goods, and this is really one of the first efforts to utilize that initiative.
And there's not even a technology allotment anymore. This is,
Right.
last session, the state just combined textbook and technology instruction allotment into one, so this could be
Right.
done. We're finally seeing people start to do this.
Finding the one as a category, but they didn't add the money together.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. My concern is still you said Title I money. Will the kids in the Title I schools have access to a lot of this technology? Because I don't think that many of them have the same access as some of the others.
Penny wants to say something,
Okay.
she certainly can as well. And we are currently working on a technology plan. I visited with Dr. Waddell because we are going to do everything that we possibly can to make sure that students do have access, and especially for those students who don't have their
I
own
think
device.
when you're using instructional resource money to do this, that's the way to equalize that. It's like textbooks were not given, I mean, they were equitably distributed. Every kid got one. So that's the intent on changing the law.
To technology, to IMA.
Yes,
Right.
ma'am.
Mhm. The other one was, I saw Title money also used for the Title II. Is that instruction or in staff development, basically? Was there some use for that also in technology?
Is that on the same item, Mrs. Gregg?
That Penny, do we pay for Teachscape out of Title II?
I was wondering about the Title II because it was, I know that it was specifically.
I don't have that item in front of me.
Title II Part D, isn't that Title II Part D? Is that what you're referring to?
And I'm sorry, I left my notes.
Title II
at-
Part
I think that she's looking at the renewal of Teachscape. This training
Yeah.
will be paid with Title II funds.
That's correct. It's for staff development
Yeah.
or professional learning.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions? Hearing none, ready to vote? All in favor? Mr. Knapp is at, so that is the rest of us, 6 and 1 abstaining. Thank you. Anything else?
On 2A. Well, I'll move the adoption of item 2A under the business. The financial reports, including the January financial report, January bond report, and construction report.
I'll second.
Ferguson, seconded by Mrs. Latham.
Wait, what was the motion?
It's yours, or you were going to discuss.
Okay, we got it rolling.
Okay.
I'm with
All
you.
right, now we
Yes.
can discuss.
Okay.
All right, we're ready to discuss. Mr. McDaniel, would you like to
Okay.
speak to your motion?
In looking at the costs of the softball and batting cages that in November we approved, I'm looking at the consent item for November 14, 2011, and it talks about batting cages at 7 campuses, 6 campuses, and a total of $1.48 million. At the time, we did not have a breakdown. I'm sitting and looking at a breakdown now of how that falls out. And when I think of a batting cage, you have a slab, you've got poles holding up a fence or a net that keeps the ball within a confined area, maybe a roof on it. What we're looking at is batting cages that are going to cost us anywhere from $209,000 all the way down to $133,000. So you can, for the price of the average home in the area, it's what it's costing us to put batting cages. And I'm wondering why the elevated costs. Are we looking at zealous architecture? Are we looking at over-engineering? There is no land cost involved in this. It seems a bit astronomical to me. Can you share with us, Mr. Perry, what that involves?
I'd like to also ask Mr. Perry to distribute the information about the batting cages to the board.
Thanks for putting in the old guy font, too.
What we've handed out to the board there was a copy that you'd previously seen. It is the breakdown by batting cage. Previously, we had listed it by campus, and for example, Hebron has a baseball and a softball batting cage. And so there was a lump sum number there, and what we've done is we've shown you the breakout of that. Just to briefly respond to your question about how much these cost, this was a hard bid. This was a design that we went out and we took bids for from multiple general contractors. This was a CSP bid where we took, at this case, we took the lowest, best qualified bid. So again, it was a hard bid. We actually got to see what the economy is showing us, what the vendors out there are bidding. Just a couple of notes on what type this is. This is a structural foundation. It has piers underneath of it. It's done that because it holds up a structural steel building. The spans require that there has to be a structural engineer to examine it, and it does have a roof on it. It has brand new nets, no matter if it's baseball or softball. It has new nets in it. It has new turf on the floor, and it has new lights in it. So it is a structural building. Prices, again, were hard bid, and the basis for this design was comparable to what we built at Marcus. So the attempt was to get some equality throughout the district, both in baseball and in softball.
I'm remembering some history on this. We had some issues at a couple of campuses, which we believe there was safety issues. I'm thinking.
There was safety issue.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And
absolutely.
And was this been a case, I think, locally where a student was killed, where a baseball.
Not in our.
Not in our.
Grapevine? Is that what I recall? Grapevine. A ball went
cages.
actually through the net. Was that? I think that's correct. Absolutely. And so this is not your typical piece of pipe that we've sunk in a piece of concrete and we've done some welding on it. We've tried to hang nets. This is a professional, good-looking, quality batting cage. It is. It's covered, and it has a rain screen that does turn down on the edges. That is correct.
Strung across the top of them, and this is really a batting barn, like what Marcus has.
Well, two things. First of all, Marcus's batting barn was not built by the district. That was built by a booster club. And I don't think they've got piers underneath. I think you can check and they just put slab on grade. I don't understand what, the weight of this building is not that much greater than the homes around. It just amazes me that we can't come up with a facility that's adequate and aesthetically pleasing for much less than that. And so I can't get a grasp on where we're going to spend $200,000 on putting a slab that's probably 15 by 50, and then structural steel. We can put stainless steel in there. It's still not going to rise to the cost that we're looking at. Do we have a facade that's being built, that's being put on it? Mike, I just can't put my arms around it. Can you break it down and tell me how much you think the slab's going to worth, how much the fencing is worth, the roof?
Well, let me, if I could, go back to your original statement about the Marcus. Actually, the Marcus baseball batting cage does have piers underneath of it. It is a structural slab. It is a structural steel building. That is Marcus baseball. Was built, I'm going to say 2 years ago. Don't hold me to that. It may be 2.5, but brand new facility that was built some time ago. And that was our basis for our design, again, to resolve the quality issues across the district, both baseball and softball. So that is a structural building. It does have a roof on it. It did have new nets. It has lights in it. It has all of those things. If you'd like for me to break it down a little further for you, I'd be glad to do that. I, of course, don't have those numbers in front of me tonight, but I would be glad to do that for you.
Okay. Also, I'd like to see a breakdown of a $200,000 of outbuilding for, where's that? Storage. And how many square foot will that storage building and delay be?
Mr. McDaniels, off the top of my head, I don't have it.
Okay.
I'd be glad to provide it.
I'm not trying to pin you down here, but $200,000 for a storage building, once again, it's going to be concrete.
It is.
It's going to be cinder block.
It is.
Makes no sense. And I have experience in building. I've built several large structures, and I just can't get my arms around that, and I'm wondering if, if we're allowing some designs to come through that are increasing the cost and quite frankly, costing the district a lot of money that we could be using somewhere else.
Well, to your point on the storage facility, again, there was a basis for the design, and that was the rest of the middle schools that we had done. We had done this building at the rest of the middle schools. So that was our basis for our design, which was a structural foundation, a cinder block building, a pitched truss roof, and brick on the outside. Has an overhead coiling door in it and some access to it, of course. I'll be glad to provide you the breakdown on that one as well as the batting cages if you'd like.
Mike, I'm not throwing darts at you. I'm going to. Do we have a somewhere in the process some way that we stop and say, let's value engineer this? What can we do to cut some of the costs without cutting any quality or cutting safety out?
Absolutely. We do that every day. We take the opportunity to save the district money. We keep a cost savings log in my department that I'd be glad to share with the board, where we save the district a lot of money through that process that you just talked about.
Michael, I have a question. Is it possible that I think in terms of cost per square foot, is it because we have to send this out to CSP for a CSP bid or for a hard bid? I don't know what a hard bid means. I know that you have to send it out for bid. Is that maybe adding to our expense? Maybe because we require you to have certain kind of insurance and certain kind of this, that, and the other if you want to bid on these jobs?
I understand the point you're getting to, but I would tell you that the way the economy is right now, we're seeing a lot of contractors that are extremely hungry for work, and we're getting some really good dollars for what we're building. Again, I could be glad to provide you the breakout, the line item breakouts for how much the foundation is, how much the structure is, but these are some good numbers for what we're building.
Mike, is this the absolute cost, or is this kind of like the high water mark, and it could come in less than this if they...
Yeah, with the hard bid that Mrs. Latham referred to, or CSP bid, there's very little money that will be returned. I will tell you there is a slight contingency in each one of these. We would be foolish to start off into a job without some contingency. So we do have a line item contingency in each one of these, but it is not what you're used to seeing coming back from the CM at risk process.
I kind of hesitate to bring this in, but, and there's great questions. There's a number of factors that figure into this, and one of them is many of us remember the death of that kid over there at Colleyville, and after that, everybody started, looking at what they were doing regarding batting cages, because you just don't want to have that happen to any student. I think another thing is the issue of equity and the importance of things that are going to be, I would say, larger items, and this is a larger item, that it's something the school district does. It should not be something that would be left to one campus or another having more through booster clubs and these kinds of things, where one campus would have more access to funds to build a structure that's going to be on our property than another one would. Because all of our kids deserve high-quality facilities and safe facilities. So I think one thing going down the road from here on things that are major and happen to be permanent structures on our campuses, I think we need to pay serious attention to those. Should be done by the district and not through booster clubs or those kinds of things.
Well, do we know for sure that batting barn cage, whatever you want to call it, at Marcus was paid by the booster club, or was it built by the district?
The one off of Dixon, the new one, that was a LISD building.
The one I was talking, Dr. Rogers, was the one that the Booster Club built. That's the metal barn.
The metal one on the existing Marcus campus was a booster club.
Yes.
The one off of Dixon that I believe Mr. Perry is building the model off of was a LISD structure.
That's correct.
One is.
About inequality. I'm just throwing that out there.
One is for softball and one is for baseball.
Wow. No wonder they want to come here. Okay, are we ready to vote?
No. Dr. Will, I agree that, I agree with the equity in monies, but misspent dollars isn't going to make anybody any safer. And I think we have a flaw in the system if we are building storage sheds for $200,000 and we're building baseball batting cages for $200,000. I think there's something not right in the system, and whether it's architect or it's over engineering, I think it's something that we need to pay attention to. And Dr. Barnett, is there any way that we can just delay this and look into it? Would it?
We are delaying the softball batting cages at Flower Mound and at Marcus pending the charrette and the final design and the final footprint of the ninth grade center, and where we have to, especially if you saw a concept drawing tonight that would relocate the Flower Mound softball field. So we're certainly going to delay that until we get a fully understanding where that's going to be built.
Okay.
So what is up for approval tonight then?
Well, the only thing that's really on your consent agenda for approval is the report itself.
Well, not that these projects are not up for voting.
Projects are already under contract.
I was going to say contract's done, right? Yeah.
Mr. Ferguson, I believe you approved the project. I'm going to say it was November. It might have been, was it November, Dr. Burnett? Yeah, we approved the batting cages in November.
Then I have one more request, Dr. Barnett, is in the future, when we approve something like this, could we have more of a breakdown so that we can, the approval was for 1.4 million for, it didn't even state the number of facilities where we will be building.
It's our intent to bring, when we do the charrette for the aquatic center, when it comes to bid, is to have a fully vetted out project budget for you to review at the same time.
That'd be great. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Ms. Gregg, I'd
Thank
like
you.
to call the question, please.
Okay. Question's been called. Ready to vote? All in favor? Opposed? Let it be, the minutes show that Mr. McDaniel there were 6 in favor, all except Mr. McDaniels, who is opposing. I want to make sure that the minutes, okay? All right. We will, hearing nothing else, we will be going into closed session again. We will take a 5-minute recess and then maybe go into closed session to discuss purchase, exchange, and sale of real estate property under the Texas Government Code 551072. Okay. The time is 9:29.
Give the microphone so you got to type and what time it is.
It is 9:41, and we are reconvening, and I am adjourning the meeting.